This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so it's 7:10, and we are going to open this work session on Wednesday, July 5th. All council is present and accounted for. Do we have any changes to the agenda as presented?
I would just like to add discussion on our website.
I'll put that at the end, is that fine?
That's fine.
All right, so I have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve
The amended one.
the amended.
Sherry makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Katrina seconds. All in favor of approving the amended motion? The amended motion. Oh my God, the amended agenda. I'm tired, sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes. All right, so first one is transition for new hire city managers. So looking at past transitioning, there hasn't really been any. So I think I want some of council's ideas, thoughts, processes. I have some of my own from the past interim, as well as interim, whoever we put in, or permanent with the next round. I think they need to be shown around. I think they need to sit with staff and talk. I think the last one might have not done that very well and didn't really learn what people do, how they do it, how the city's been doing it. And so I think that's a big piece of whoever we transition into that department. But also like getting to know the staff and getting to know what they do, why they do it, getting to know council, what we do, why we do it, type of a thing. And then of course, giving us their critiques and changes is absolutely okay, but it's just, we need to do a better job as a council bringing in whoever we do and making sure that they're well introduced to everybody, community, internally, all that kind of stuff. So thoughts on that?
I agree. I think that it's really important for that person to meet with staff and also get a feel from council as to what we're really looking for in a manager, and to make them feel a little bit more comfortable dealing with all of us in a very communicative way.
Anything else?
I think with input from council, I think the administrative committee should put together a plan and bring it back to the council. That way we don't all have to deal with it, but you'll still have input.
I like it.
And just table it right now.
All right. The next one is, so back in October, Jeremy Green, I'm gonna pass these around. Jeremy brought this to Quorum's attention about the homeless.
Heather, could you let people know who Jeremy Green is?
Jeremy Green is our city attorney.
People may not know that.
So back in October, he brought it to Quorum's attention that this was going to be happening. Did we want to do something about it? Quorum told him that council was not wanting to do anything about it. He did bring about the warming and cooling stations back in October when looking back through minutes, but never about the ordinance piece that we would need if this is retaining to the homeless camping on private and public grounds. So talking more with Jeremy and I talked to Burns, who is doing the same thing, and a few other cities that are doing the same thing. We don't have to have the warming or cooling station to pass this ordinance. And we're not passing it tonight, I just brought it to you. It's gonna come to council probably the end of this month because we're gonna meet with Savannah and Jeremy and stuff and go through the ordinance and make sure that we have to just delegate and define an area of public grounds in our city limits that can be used for that if it comes down to people needing a place to stay. So we don't have to necessarily put in the warming and cooling station like Quorum explained it, but we do have to designate a city area. So we're going to talk to Savannah and a few others in staff and get those ideas. And then we would bring the ordinance to council when we have those ideas. So it'll be the end of this coming month probably. But I just wanted to get it to you guys so you can start doing your research. Mount Vernon did an emergency hearing on this last week, and there's some other cities that have passed this ordinance as well. But I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention so you can start doing some research, questions, ask everything you need to do, so that when it comes to council, probably the last council meeting of this month, you kind of know why and how and where we got to this point. It technically goes into effect as of July 1 with the state of Oregon, but hopefully we can get this done quickly and not have too many issues. Jeremy doesn't seem to think a month is going to make a huge deal. So any comments, concerns? I know Katrina and I kind of worked with a little bit of stuff with the homeless stuff back when Corin was looking at that warming and cooling station. And we just didn't have the funding or the location for that, but
This is a boilerplate policy we have.
we don't have it.
I mean, this says campsite removal policy under the ORSA.
That would be what our ordinance would be. This is a draft.
So we're stealing the pride.
Jeremy's doing it for multiple cities, so yep. So just bringing it to your guys' attention. No action needed on it, more so just for your guys' know and how and where we go from here if we need to. All right, Sherry, you're next with Pledge of Allegiance before meetings.
According to Robert's Rules of Order, Pledge of Allegiance is one of the things that is supposed to be done at the beginning of a meeting. Therefore, I would like to make sure that we do it because we do follow Robert's Rules of Order. And I don't know that it has to be a vote before council because it is Robert's Rules. So if anybody has a problem with it, if you really want to vote on it, I guess we can, but I really think that we should.
I thought we already agreed.
No, it was addressed that we had never voted on it, so we're bringing it to a work session.
No, there was a question as to why we started doing it without any prior council discussion. That was the question that was brought forth. And I stated at that time that I didn't have a problem doing it. It was just all of a sudden, here's the change, and there was no discussion prior to the change.
Well, I'm just.
So I didn't require a vote or ask
Okay.
for a vote. I just asked why there was a change without any council discussion.
Yeah, no, I just.
So I
I'm
will
just-
start adding it to the agendas
Okay.
and we'll move forward with it for meetings from here on out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. Holland.
Okay, I have several things on the agenda tonight. Got a couple of footnotes here. For myself, not in the same order I sent it, but that's fine. Public ridicule. What that, to me, what I'm talking about when I say is from time to time, there have been counselors that have ridiculed in a public meeting, in a public council meeting, ridiculed either private citizens and or business owners. And it concerns me because not only does it make the individual counselor look good in the public eye, but it also doesn't make the council look good as a whole. Most often those are stemmed from personal feelings or personal views. And it has happened. I'm not calling anybody out individually on it, whether it's prior council, whether it's past council. It has taken place. It's happened more than once. Negative opinions, negative attitudes towards members of the public and or business people. And I want to caution council that it's not productive. So I would like to not see it happen anymore.
Discussion?
May I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Regarding this, I understand what brought this up. However, there have been several times that the person bringing this to our attention has in fact been the one to direct the public ridicule, and I am not comfortable with that. So if we can all come to an agreement with that, that would be fine. If we no longer treat people with a condescending or a belligerent attitude, if we don't call people out on the things that they've done, pointing their inequities, writing letters to editors, grading people, naming people. I think that would be a fair for everyone involved.
Well, that was a really nice spiel, Sherry. So you want to be more specific since
Sure.
you were specific?
Sure.
I've never wrote a letter to the editor in my life.
No, but
Not yet. No, you just accused me of
no,
a
I did
letter
not
to the.
accuse you of writing.
You said the person that brought this up, and then you started listing stuff, okay? So this is
Okay.
public perception.
Okay, well, let me be more clear in that. I have several instances where public ridicule has taken place that I have been uncomfortable with listening to. One was when Rick Allen was attacked when he was told he was not worth the money we were paying him.
Let's not mention people personally.
Yeah, let's just talk about,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. If we're talking about people not being worth their weight, attacking people because they bring things forward at a meeting and not letting it go, having it come on again and again, accusing, and I'm going to say this because it's accusing our constituents of not being smart enough to understand a financial report or a budget after the request was made several times to have a monthly report, attacking candidates that are trying to become a member of the council or some other position on a board. And last but not least, and no, this was not you, Dave, but very close to you, letters to the editor.
Well, I never attacked a constituent. I merely stated in a council meeting during a council discussion and decision of personal experience. It was all fact. I have the emails to prove it. And I stated what those emails were about. Okay, so that's not attacking somebody. That's just throwing facts out on an important decision that the council is about to make on a candidate. Okay, it's way different than attacking somebody. I didn't attack the other person when I said I didn't feel we got our money's worth. I worked closely with him. You didn't. Okay, I know a lot more about what was taking place over the last 5 months than you do. It was a fact. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't an attack. And it was a question that was asked by another counselor. So, I mean, you're throwing out some pretty vague stuff, and I'm just telling you that your opinion is not fact. It's just your opinion.
No.
Yes, Chris, go ahead.
I think the League of Oregon Cities could provide council meetings with rules and guidelines. I would suggest we get a hold of them.
We went through the training and I provided the training, and my two new counselors came and the one returning and no one else.
Sound like the mayor needs to enforce those rules.
Well, the mayor can only do so much if people won't show up to a training.
We need to maybe do it again.
Okay, I can ask Patty if she would like to come again and see if counselors would like to that missed the last one, or refresher. I mean, it was, we learned a lot at it. It was a lot of information in 7 hours, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I'll admit that that is a lot of what keeps coming to mind, is that there was a lot of discussion on there about our facial expressions, our body language during meetings, and the way that we present ourselves. And it's been a concern of mine for quite some time, is that the facial expressions, the heavy sighing, the guffawing, comes across as incredibly unprofessional, and the discrepancy in the respect that is provided to some members of the community and not to other members of the community. And so I do think it's important that, without finger pointing, that we all consider that maybe a little bit of internal reflection about all of our actions could be taken into account and considered how we could all appear a little bit more professional and make certain that we are serving our constituents. We're here to serve the people. We're not here to ask them if they disagree with us. We still owe it to them to have a respectful, polite conversation. And even past staff are members of our city. Even past counselors are members of our city. And so if we're tired of them, fine. We still owe everyone in our community respect, even people who have applied and not been appointed. And so my request would be to second this, that as a group, we all take a little bit of a breath when somebody says something that bothers us or that feels like we're being blamed or attacked, and maybe consider what's the truth in it and how can I address the truth in it politely and respectfully, instead of pointing a finger at 4 other people, instead of remembering that there's 4 that are pointing at me.
I've used that a lot, actually. Any other discussion on this?
Thank you, Dave, for bringing it up,
Well,
because I wasn't at the training, so.
well, in training or no training,
Yeah.
I think we all,
It's on.
and I
People on.
am addressing it to the council
I
as a
think that
whole.
it's the same.
I did not
idea.
address anything to an individual.
Yeah, the same idea. So council committees, Dave asked about this, and then I had some other people ask, so that's why it's kind of like a jumble. So, Dave, go ahead, and then we'll go down kind of the list and stuff.
Okay, so my issue with the council committees, and I had it listed as council president and committees, but you separated them, so that's fine. My opinion, what's taking place right now is not really what those committees were designed for. Setting up meetings for administrative committee to meet with office staff, setting up public works committee meetings to meet with public works staff, to give them guidance and direction and stuff like that. That is not the city council's place. It doesn't matter whether it's in council or whether it's in a free board meeting. It's not the city council's place to direct staff or direct employees of any kind at any time. And it specifically states that in our charter. Thank you. And then to use the committees to deal with stuff that normally a city manager would do or a department head would do. And I realize recently, again, we don't have a city manager, but it seems to me like the committees are heading in a direction that they really weren't meant for and that they really shouldn't be doing. And so if that's the direction and that's what the committee is going to be doing, I don't want to be a member of the committees because it goes against our charter. In my opinion, it goes against the direction that the committees are not intended to be used for.
So can you explain, because Chris asked this today, what those committees were set up originally to be and what they were to do and why.
Well, my understanding, of course, I've worked for the city for a long time, but I wasn't in this part of it during all of that time. What the committees in the past have been used for, not to say they can't be used a little differently, but in the past, what they've been used for is like the Public Works Committee. They would be involved in reviewing public works projects, like if there's requests for services and there's proposals coming in, they might be part of that team along with Public Works, along with the city manager, so that you have a broad outlook on what you're looking at. The administrative committee, mainly what they did in the past was they helped deal with negotiations for the union contract for the police department. Other than that, they weren't really used much.
They evaluated
The safety committee, when people came to the council wanting a four-way stop on Bridge and Third, the safety committee would get together, discuss the pros and cons of what that would cause, bring back a recommendation to the council. I mean, basically, those are just some of the broad things that they were used for in the past. Meeting with employees and department heads is a no-no, according to our charter, because that is involving council in personnel. And so it really is not supposed to be used that way. I understand why you're doing it. I'm not condemning why you're doing it. I'm just warning that it goes against our charter and it puts people in a situation where they don't really want to be on committees if you're working them
To the bone, like some of us have been.
Well, but that's different. See, that's different than the committees. Was in here somewhere, but I'll go ahead and bring it up. What the council did was the council gave you and myself some or certain administrative authorities because we didn't have a city manager. But the council as a whole was not given that authority. So for you and me to deal with employees, deal with these things, some of these different things that we've had to deal with in the last 5 to 6 months.
7 months.
Is different than what the council's role is or the committee's role. So as I see this transitioning, I just wanted to bring it up, bring it to your attention, and caution against some of the uses.
So like the Public Works Committee could be included in direction for where council wants to go, because that's what I'm hearing from Public Works and some of our staff is they need direction on where council wants to go for some of these outstanding projects.
Right.
Public Works Committee could be involved with, we'll have more obviously RFPs and stuff like that coming down the pipeline. Would they be involved with like the decision making for like the pit stop or the signage or anything like that, or would that need to all come? I mean, we're just trying to decide if everything comes to council or.
No, they can be used on some of that stuff so that it doesn't have to.
Right. Take a 5-hour meeting.
Right. So those are the types of things. Yes, that's exactly what those committees were set up to do, was to put a smaller group of people together, discuss it, get the facts, whatever, bring it back to council, open it for discussion, but already have the investigative and that process taken care
So
of.
same with public safety, meeting with the sheriff and the county to see if we can fix some of these issues going on with lack of police coverage type of a thing would be Public Safety Committee.
Right, stop signs,
Right.
Different traffic safety issues.
Painting road lines and crosswalk lines that need to be painted desperately.
Well, road lines aren't safety, but crosswalks definitely are. Yeah, those types of issues, I mean, if somebody requests a crosswalk, if it's on a city street, those types of things would go before the safety committee.
Okay.
They would discuss them, bring back a recommendation to council, pros and cons. So, like I said, it's just a concern that I'm seeing it heading in a direction that some of it shouldn't be happening and other parts are fine. So I just wanted to bring it up for council discussion and.
Yeah.
Yes, Katrina.
So if we were to say, I just want to make sure I'm clear then, because I have a meeting coming up next week that I'm supposed to attend. My role would not be to provide any kind of direction. It would be more to get a report that I could come back to the city council with, and then we make a decision about what the direction would be.
Right, and it's not even an involvement with staff at any level. I mean, staff's gonna come complain to different counselors for different reasons. I mean, so is the public.
Yep.
Okay, we as individual counselors have no authority. We only have authority as a group. It's okay to listen. Heather and I were both advised, don't participate. If there's a complaint brought to you by an employee,
Follow the
Listen.
process.
listen, but don't participate in the conversation. Don't tell them, yes, I agree with you, no, I don't agree with you. Don't participate in, and we were both advised by CIS and our city attorney, on those issues. So as counselors, you have the same obligation. And
So I guess my question.
we have new people and in council, and Katrina's not as new as some. Chris has been around for as long as dirt, but,
Since the dinosaurs.
So
So-
if you don't want them meeting with staff, would they be meeting with me until we get a city manager and then I go meet with staff and then I report back to them?
that works perfectly. It doesn't go against the city charter.
So we're just more, yeah, okay.
I believe the council has goals and policies. That's what we deal with.
Mhm.
Once those are set, then the committees could deal with it and say, hey, if safety is an issue, crosswalks, that's fine. But I agree with Dave. We don't mess with the employees.
No,
We do not mess with the employees.
I just didn't see where the issue of meeting with the public works or meeting with project managers to learn about upcoming projects would be an issue for public works, but that's fine. I just didn't see the issue with
But
that.
if you're giving them guidance, direction, priorities, whatever, then that's where it
Can get
crosses the line.
Right, yeah, I can see it, but, so,
Our
But
charter does not give the mayor or president the right to hire or fire. Just,
doesn't give Dave
Or
and I even,
discipline.
that's what I
right,
mean.
And neither did the council's.
no, we don't
Vote.
have it either.
So this is a tough one, because if we are looking to get information, say on safety, as to when certain things are going to be done or what the process is for them to be done, we're not allowed to ask them. We're not allowed to go to Public Works. If I have questions about a stop sign or about I'm not allowed to question Public Works as to what would be a good fix for that.
It's not that you're not allowed to question, it's that you're not allowed to direct.
Guidance or direction.
Okay.
So you can't
But
go
I can
down and
ask.
tell Casey, the
But
public
this-
works director, that I want a crosswalk right here. You can ask him, or you can, better yet, if you want a crosswalk somewhere, then you bring that to council. And if the council decides that the case safety committee can review it, and if it's on the state highway, of course, you have to talk to ODOT because they only allow crosswalks in certain spots. So there's a lot of issues to it. But then you as a safety committee can meet, discuss it, bring back the recommendation to council once you find out all the pertinent information. It's not that you can't ask questions, it's that you're not allowed to direct or demand. And it also says that about the city manager. That you're, as an individual counselor, are not allowed to direct or influence the city manager. So the same type of thing, because they're an employee. You're not allowed to direct, as an individual counselor, you're not allowed to direct or influence any employee, period. Whether it's the city manager, whether it's somebody lower down on the totem pole.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure. This is a discussion. This isn't a slam at anybody.
Okay.
This is
No,
a
no, no,
discussion.
So if ODOT does need to be contacted about something, if something has to go through ODOT, whose responsibility is that?
Well, that would be the city manager. And in lieu of the city manager, because it's public works, it would be the public works director.
Okay,
The city council needs to let these people that we're paying
Do their job.
do their job.
mm-hmm.
Can you ask a question, Sherry? You bet. Hey, how come the sidewalks aren't, the yellow along the sidewalks hasn't been updated and so forth? What's wrong with that? You're not telling anybody what to do, you're just asking a question.
May I speak on it?
It's a work session, but yes, I would,
That's up to
yeah,
you.
I'm fine with that. It refers to you, so yes.
I'm Casey, Public Works Director. As far as the striping, line painting, I am on the schedule to have that done this summer. It will be done. Next week, Fred will be going out to wash the streets where we need the striping done, and it'll be done this summer.
Thank you.
I don't know what the schedule is as of yet, but I figured I would let the council know that that is already in the works.
Thank you.
How hard would that
Thank
be to ask somebody that question?
It's not hard to ask. I've
That's
asked
what I
it
mean.
in the past,
Yeah, okay.
but I've also asked about getting speed signs at both ends of town, and I was told that that's an ODOT, and
Right, it is.
yeah, but if Public Works is supposed to be in touch with ODOT, why aren't they following through with that? Why did it come back?
Well, maybe the
To
Public
me.
Works can make a recommendation, like I've heard about mufflers coming off of East Highway to John Day. I don't know what they're called.
Jake brakes.
Jake brakes. I can hear them from my house, and I'm a long ways away. Public Works would say, hey, we think that needs to be addressed.
But those signs are also expensive and they have to be budgeted for.
Right.
They're not cheap.
No,
We looked into that 4 years ago.
I think she just wants to know what we can, what
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an idea of what I can and can't do because, I've brought things up several times and I just don't want to see these things falling through the cracks. And I just want to see them taken care of. Like, I've had residents call me complaining about, and I think, and I was very nice to Casey about this. There was a refrigerator truck that was parked in the Kenwatchum parking lot, and residents were complaining about it because it was making noise all night. And I asked if there was anything we could do about putting a sign down there that said, no overnight parking of refrigerator trucks or whatever. But I don't know what's happened to that.
Well, those types of things are council decisions. That needs to be discussed with council and then talked about in council. That's not a public works director's responsibility to make that decision. That's a citywide decision. It's also a law enforcement decision, not public works decision. I mean, a law enforcement issue, not a public works issue.
Unfortunately, we don't have law enforcement.
Well, we do. We have a Grant County sheriff that you and I and everybody else in this room pays for.
Yeah, I know that, but
Okay,
they
so
will not
we'll
address
just stop
things
it
like
there.
that. Okay, fine.
Okay, so next one is Public Safety Committee updates and requests. Sherry?
Okay, I have put out a request to Jim Hampshire, who is supposed to be getting in touch with Todd. I also wanted to include Public Works on this for public safety, so we could go over some things that need to be addressed. Heard back from Jim. I have not heard back from him since he said that he would email Todd. So I don't.
And the meeting was supposed to be tomorrow.
And the meeting was supposed to be tomorrow. So I do not have an answer on that right now.
So just know that Public Safety Committee is working on trying to meet with our sheriff and the county liaison for the sheriff's office. Because obviously you can't meet with all three of them because then it would be a public meeting. So they've reached out to see if we can come to some kind of understanding, as I have been receiving multiple calls from residents who have been told, and I forwarded some emails to council from you guys, from our sheriff, that he does not patrol the city because the city does not pay. So Bridge Street speeding, a child almost got hit on a bicycle, motels having issues with disgruntled residents not wanting to leave, those kinds of things. So Public Safety Committee, I reached out to them because I'm like, this I think is in your ballpark. So she has reached out, and so that's what we're in the process of. Yes, we are not paying them a lump sum of money. However, John Day is in Grant County and we all pay taxes for Grant County. And so I'm not saying every dog nuisance and everything like that, but when you have a motel with somebody waving a gun around and a drug deal going out and people being threatened with the gun, and the owner makes it from Prineville before a sheriff responds, that's an issue. So it's some internal city, like they're in the city limits, so public safety is going to meet with them to kind of see if we can figure out some kind of a mutual understanding of helping our city residents out.
I just want to go on record. I've seen the sheriff's deputies throughout John Day.
I think they're throughout John Day. I'm not saying that they're not. And I know they're busy and they're short-staffed and it's a big county. I'm not saying that. But how as a county are we going to prioritize calls? Because when people's lives are in danger or when a child is almost hit, like there's some things that need to be done.
Something that need to be talked about with the 911 and the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So admin committee met today, Chris and myself. Fire building, the bidder was awarded the bid on last Friday and believed to have closed papers within the next 2 weeks. Spoke to the attorney. The 90-day date was like September 20th from 90 days from the notice. So of course the new owner will have the same, their dates don't reset just because it's a new owner. However, like council has expressed, if we see progress and we see them moving forward and they're 3 days away from the date and they're not quite there, I don't see council wanting to pursue that legally because it's going to cost us way more than it's worth. But bidder has been awarded and been notified and paperwork has been started and hope to be completed possibly by this Friday, but if not this Friday, then Chris assured me that it would be completed by next Friday. And the bidder has also been put in contact with some grant and some state funding that will help them with the abatement stuff. And yeah, go ahead.
And they're aware, the person possibly purchasing is aware
I
of
spoke to
the
them.
timeline.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I spoke to them. They called City Hall last week and we spoke and well aware and ready to get in there and get stuff happening quicker than not. So I don't see it being an issue. They have some stuff already lined out with crews and all that kind of stuff. So they know what they're getting themselves into. They know, they've seen the paperwork. They know the dates. They also know that they've heard council say, if we see progress, we'll work with you, but we haven't seen progress in how many days with Chris. So this person will assume ownership and then start moving forward with the process. Flooding update. I left a message today with the adjuster. Casey had asked if there was a way that Public Works could come in and at least do like the cleanup work of it and get it kind of cleaned up semi-okay, so it doesn't look like a death happened down there, to be completely honest, with plastic and mold and everything else. So I'm waiting to hear from the adjuster if that's okay, if city employees can be utilized. The bid came in extremely low, so I've shared that with Casey and Aaron to review that with them to see why it's so low, because it came in at about $11,000 is all they're willing to give us for that entire project. So I'm not sure how they expect. I mean, they did a toilet at like $37, and I'm like, you find me a toilet for $37. So there's some negotiations that are going to need to happen. None of that has been happening with our prior management. So starting some things have been talked about, but like getting the staff in there, that was just mentioned today, so it would get the process moving. So as soon as I hear back from the adjuster, if that's okay or not okay, then I'll get a hold of Casey and have their crew at least start coming in and getting some of the cleanup done that they can do. Public Works Committee, we will have still some things to discuss on Monday. More so some prioritizing some of the pending jobs, AKA the pit stop. Casey can share with everybody. There was hope of doing shrubbery of some sort in the dirt on the new 7th Street road. And Casey has pictures of car tracks going in our dirt because they're going around the barricade that says road closed. So, need some direction on kind of the pit stop. What do we want to do with it? It's kind of been halted. We need to figure out signage. We need to figure out that kind of stuff. The shrubbery type of issue down at the new 7th Street and some other things. So there is some things for Public Works to give recommendations on where they want to go and bring it back to council. So we'll still meet on that Monday, go from there with that stuff. Tomorrow, myself and some staff and Nick Ducati have our first meeting with the Purple Pipe project engineers. So they will come here tomorrow, and it's the first meeting. I don't know really what all is to be expected, but that will happen tomorrow. So that will be moving forward. And we have some different steps that need to be followed with some easements, some contacts with distributors that would be using the Purple Pipe need to be contacted and stuff like that. So we have that process starting in the next couple weeks. Yes.
My understanding is you and Dave were given spending authority of $2,500 maximum. Is that correct?
I think that's what the contract states, but we bring everything to you.
Some of these projects cannot.
Well, no, spending authorities, these projects were approved.
Yeah, they're already like way.
They're already been approved by council. So this would be above.
This would be the cameras to your attention.
Above and beyond or outside the normal.
No, these are already budgeted for. The money is allocated. The money is there. This is, I mean, the Purple Pipe, we have a grant that we were supposed to use by the end of this year, and we just sent in an extension because we didn't even get it awarded until just now. So no, this is not like, this wouldn't mean Dave or I need authority for you to sign the, I mean, like the HECO contract's already been signed and all that kind of stuff. So that's more like the camera system or the heating and cooling system. Like those are the types of things that we need to come to you guys for authorization.
Some of these public works projects have been languishing, and the public are wondering, when are you ever going to do something or finish? If the money's already allotted.
So some of these are allotted and some of them are not.
Okay, so we need to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So do you have more on council decisions that you want to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
So my concern here is the council has made certain decisions over the last 2 or 3 years. Some of those current council, some of them past council, but regardless of which council made those decisions hold, stand, and are true until council reverses them by a vote of the council. I see efforts for John Day to give the county money for police. I saw it with our city manager in the proposed budget. Originally, what he was trying to propose, asked him about it. He said a couple of counselors insisted that he put money in there for that. The council has already made a decision on that issue. And it was made by motion, it was seconded, and it was voted on. And that motion roughly stated that the council is willing to work with the county on a countywide solution. But the city council and John Day is not willing to just give the county money and bail them out of a situation that's not just John Day's problem, it's a countywide problem. And so that motion took place, was seconded, was voted on. So that decision by the city council still stands. And there's inner workings behind the scenes, and maybe people aren't aware of that. Maybe people are, but in order for that to change, it has to be a council decision to override previous council decision. And that's where all of these issues arise. The greenhouse. The council agreed to sell the greenhouse to a certain individual on a lease with option to buy for a set amount of money. And I know that there's concern.
There is concern.
And I'm not saying it's not warranted. I'm just saying there's concern, and there's an effort to stop that process.
So it's not an effort to stop.
And get an appraisal, which good luck getting an appraisal. There's no other publicly owned greenhouses in the state of Oregon. But anyway, irregardless, the council made that decision. I would caution the council, if they choose to override that decision through your investigation, that they seek legal advice so that we don't end up in a lawsuit.
No, I agree.
The same with Iron Ridge and the Parson easement. I heard scuttlebutt that there was balking on that. There again, council decision.
Right.
Just want to caution against individual counselors, staff people, or whether it be city managers or who, trying to bypass council decisions. It's appropriate to bring it back to council for further discussion and a new decision. It's just not appropriate to bypass it. So that was my discussion on that one.
And the greenhouse will be on the agenda for next week. There's some things that I need council's direction on. I'm not comfortable selling something that has not been appraised and signing my name off on it, but if council would like that direction to happen, then I will move forward with what council tells me to do. But I really think we need to think long and hard about making sure that we have a fair market analysis. It's no different than the Cybermill building in Seneca, because I'm hearing too that just needs to be given for whatever price. And I think we need to cover ourselves and make sure that we either put it out for bid or put it out for sale, or however we need to do it publicly. If we're not going to do a fair market value, we need to put it out there so the public is well aware. But that will be, the greenhouse is on the agenda for next week. So, and with Parsons piece, Aaron reached out to Ty, and we're going to start. We met with Iron Triangle today, explained to them the cost. Casey put the cost together for them. It is way out of our budget range. Everybody knows how our budget is currently sitting. So, but however, it is on R3's list of projects. And so R3 has their first meeting on the 18th, or not first meeting, but their next meeting on the 18th. And hopefully we have some kind of direction on time frame and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with you though.
I have a thought. Could we maybe keep a running list of things? So it's been brought to the, several times tonight that we don't know what's happening with this. We don't know what's happening with that. Could we maybe have like one document that has a list of the different things that come up, whether it's organized in a city council meeting or however it's organized? And then if there's an update on it, we put that on there. And if there's a follow-up date, we need to review it again. We remember to bring it back up, because it seems like we have a discussion, we say we're going to make a decision about it, or we do make a decision, and then we don't know what's happened with it, a lot of it, because there's a lot going on and there's a bit of a dumpster fire. And it'd be awesome if we could, use a fire extinguisher first. But so I understand that we cannot prioritize every single thing, and there are things that are going to fall through the cracks and that cannot be done right now today. But if we all know or have access to a way to look at something that says it's still on our radar, but it's not on the top of our list today.
So maybe we could work off of that list that Aaron originally started with me at the beginning when Dave and I first took over. He started that list and I kind of threw in some updates for the last meeting. But we could add on to that and make it like even by section, like public works section, safety committee section, admin section. I mean, like we could do that and just have it be a running list and attach it to the consent agenda once a month type of a thing so that you guys can see it. And then if there's questions, we can discuss it. I would be all for that.
Yeah, or somehow connect it so that also the public can see it, so that they know that we're not
doing
just
a ton of
ignoring
work.
everything. Yeah.
So we're not just sitting in there with our feet up drinking Mai Tais. No, I like it.
Sorry, that wasn't on the agenda.
No. It
But
goes
it kind
along
of
with it.
applies
So
to
I would say, I would be fine too with like, maybe if each committee can get me things that are on their list that they've met with and discussed, and then we can put it all together as one and start from that. It'll be a work in progress probably for a little while, but we'll get it going. Yeah. And I'll talk with staff on some stuff. Anything else on that? Anybody? All right, Labhart, employee job description.
Real short, I just want to update or review our employee job descriptions to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that will be an administrative committee, and we'll bring it back to the council before we do anything.
Okay. Any further discussion? Policy personnel.
CIS has given us some information that needs to be put in the policy personnel. I assume that our policy personnel have the days that were assigned as paid holidays in our policy personnel or policy. And I understand one group didn't have it, one group did. That shouldn't happen. So Casey, I apologize. We need to just update that also. So we'll do that. And I guess if we change personnel policy, we have to give, is it 45 days notice to our employees?
And then I would just, that's personal. Line item H, personnel is with an E and two L's, just because those
Good
words
job.
have very
Good
different
job.
meanings. And so I just think it's important.
And
because I wasn't sure what we were talking about with
Uh,
that agenda item, so.
I also reached out to Jeremy today because the new employee handbook took effect as of July 1, and I haven't seen the final draft. But Jeremy assures me that by the beginning of next week, it will be out to all the employees for them to review and sign. So
Okay.
it is effective as of July 1, but unfortunately not in their hands yet. But Jeremy assures me it will be coming by the end of this week or beginning of next, and then it will be in all of their hands, and then they'll sign their updated handbook policy dating back to updated since 2017.
Good catch.
Good job. All right, council president. You both had it on there, so I don't care which one of you wants to go first.
I'll go first. Chris, I was rather surprised at our last meeting, since you were the one that asked to have that put on the agenda, that after we had our short discussion about it, you asked to bring it to a work session. I was carrying through with what was talked about, and I'm confused.
I just want to make sure that the council, at least when I was mayor, and the charter says it, that the council or the mayor does not appoint the council president.
Correct,
The city council appoints. the council
correct.
president. I didn't think that was being done, so I wanted to make sure before we make any decisions on that, that the council was aware how it works.
We put him as council president on the day I was sworn in.
And
Yes,
who made that recommendation?
I made the recommendation, council voted.
So that's the thing is, the council needs to make that
Well,
recommendation.
they made the motion. I just recommended who I think would work, and the council, somebody, I don't remember exactly who made the motion,
wasn't
who
here.
seconded, but it was a motion made by council, not by me. It was a recommendation from me and a motion made by council, and it was voted on.
and that's why I was bringing it as a motion before the council. But I had to
That might
so,
have been my bad, and I apologize for that if it was. I just wanted to make sure that we follow the charter.
that's exactly what we were doing. Okay.
And Dave, you had it on there too? Was that part of your other pieces that you've already talked about?
Oh, no,
Okay,
this is all separate.
okay.
Holy crap. Seriously? Where'd it go? Oh no, shut up.
Pretty well confused with, especially since I just met with Heather that morning. A different meeting, and sat for like that, discussed the issues. Wasn't important that she was unhappy. Been pretty blown away by it. Felt like it was pretty unprofessional. Disrespectful. I said I was done with. He didn't say I wasn't going to speak. I spoke to him regular basis and gave him information and helped him in every way he needed my help.
I am needing you to step. The staff wants somebody in that office because they think they want somebody in that office.
So it's me in the office. So if you would like to step up and be in that office, be there as a body just to answer whatever comes up, by all means, come on. I'm there from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. I mean, it's a full-time job that none of us signed up for, and I'm not saying that anybody's fault, but it's where we're at. And staff, I keep hearing from staff multiple times and multiple times and multiple times that they need somebody in that office. They need somebody in that office. We don't have it. We don't have it right now. And so it falls on me, who's in the office 40 hours a week. And I'm not saying I'm playing pity party, so please don't take it that way. But if you want to be council president, then I need you to step up.
Council President, first of all, let me verify this. Council President has nothing to do with this.
But we both have the same authority right now, Dave.
But Council President has nothing to do with this.
Okay, so but both of us have the same authority to do what I'm doing right now.
Right.
So that's what I'm meaning.
That's a different issue.
Okay,
than
so
Council
that's what I'm
President.
meaning is the resolution is for the mayor and the council president.
No, it
to
was
share.
specifically said my name
Right.
and your name. Okay? Council President, that's not the Council President's duties. The Council
Okay, so
President's
Dave Holland-
duties, the Council President's duties are to take the place of the mayor in the mayor's absence for authorized signatures, running meetings, those types of things, when the mayor's not available. That's the council president's job, okay? The council gave you and I a separate authority to help keep the city running for the last 5 months with some city administrator authority. Some, not all. We hired for $10,000 freaking dollars a month a guy that's supposed to be doing all that so that you and I aren't happening to do all that.
And guess who was still
So
doing it?
if off like I was supposed to, according to our city attorney and according to the interim city, back off, let me do my job. So I back off like I'm asked to do.
And now we're picking up the pieces again.
And now you're upset because I haven't been up there as much as you, but you didn't bother talking to me about it. You didn't bother bringing that to my attention.
I called you multiple times. I called you June 1st and told you what I was doing. I called you after everything went down June 1st, and then I called you June 3rd. I called you the 7th and said we're gonna have to have a body in there because our current city manager cannot be in the building. I've called you, but you never said, let me go up there and see what I can do.
Heather, if you want to replace me, or if the council wants to replace
I just
me
need you to
as the
help.
city manager or the administrative authority, I don't care. I'm fine with that. A conversation would have solved that instead of an unprofessional approach from your end, whoever was involved in it.
Not my end. I didn't bring it to council.
So, if the council wants to strip me of the administrative authority and give it to somebody else, feel free. No, I do not. I am retired. I do not want a full-time job for free, okay? I've had numerous people try to get me to go to work for them for money. And I tell them, no, I'm retired. I want to be retired. I don't want a full-time job for free. So if you want to replace me in that aspect, because you need more help, and there's somebody here willing to do it, feel free. I would not argue to that point one bit. If you want to replace me as council president, feel free. But I haven't failed as a council president. You haven't been gone. I haven't had to take over in your place. I mean, those are two different issues. The title of council president has nothing to do with the administrative authority to help you try and keep the city going until we get somebody hired. And we were paying somebody $10,000 a month, more than we've ever paid anybody for part-time work, and he wasn't doing as much as he should have been doing, period. And that's not ridicule, that's fact. And that's part of my other missing information one. But we'll go on with that. So if the council wants to hold a special meeting after this one and change that authority, feel free. Because no, I do not want a full-time job for free.
Okay. Yes.
May I
No, go ahead.
No, may I just say something? It was my understanding that the reason why you were put into that administrative position was because you were president. It wasn't,
That was
that
because
was
of
my
it's
understanding.
because of my experience and my knowledge of the city, Sherry. Being up in that office, being a department head for years, with budgets and dealing with staff as a department head. That's why I was given that authority.
Chris?
Dave is 100% correct. Council president only fills in when the mayor is not available, period. You voted, I've never heard that before, to give these two the right to operate the city.
Well, what other option did we have, Chris? We had nobody.
That was under the advice of the city attorney.
Yeah, that was our attorney.
Yeah, I've never,
But have you ever not had a city manager when you were on council before?
yes,
And what did you do? You just let the city not have a boss? I mean, what did you, I'm asking you.
I know. I had to run the city for a while.
Okay, but so
When the city
council
manager
had
wasn't
to
here,
have
guess who
given
ran the
you,
city?
but
He-
council had to have given you authority to do that, correct?
No,
So you just went and ran the city without council's authority?
we didn't have much choice.
Well, we took it upon ourselves to go to legal counsel and do it this way. And they actually gave it to Ron and Dave first because I wasn't elected until the 11th. And then Dave and I took over on the 11th of January.
I've never heard since I've been on the city that the council president ever involved running the city, other than taking the place of the mayor when they were not available for the meetings.
Well, it had nothing to do with council president title.
Right.
I mean, it just happened to be coincidental.
Yeah.
Okay, any,
City council or whoever gave that legal advice, I don't think they understand the role of the city or council president.
I think you're confusing council president and Dave Holland.
Well, he's council president.
I know.
But that's just coincidental. With the two things aren't related. They're just coincidental. Me being the president versus me having the most experience in city functions, planning, budgeting, staff, public works, all that stuff. I feel that's why, and then Heather being the mayor, obvious choice that she would be involved in that part of it also. I don't really think it had anything to do with the title of council president. It was
The experience you had.
it was getting two people in there to try and keep the city flowing, signing checks, doing invoices, dealing with all that
So,
stuff.
Did you volunteer? to do
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay, then what's the problem?
He does a full-time job.
It turned in more than you thought.
I thought I was doing everything I needed to do, Chris.
Okay.
And especially after we hired an interim city manager, we were asked to back off.
Totally agree there.
So
He dropped the ball. Unfortunately, it happened. Right, here's where.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? Missing information, Mr. Holland.
okay, so I felt I was a little concerned at a couple of our more recent meetings in the last 3 to 4. Missing information that I feel was pertinent for the rest of the council to know. I also think it's pertinent for the public to know. The 3 main topics are the budget, the treatment plant, and then Sherry's question on the check register. And I think Chris's question with when he asked at the other council meeting, he made the statement to me, I'm hearing scuttlebutt that there was a problem with that there's a problem with the interim city manager. And I just looked at him at that meeting and said I wasn't impressed, and that's all I said. But then later in that meeting is when I said I didn't feel we were getting our money's worth. So missing information. Let's start with the budget. The budget process this year was very hectic, of course, out of normal. We had an interim city manager, wasn't familiar with city projects, city business, but came highly recommended and was supposed to have had all this experience. The budget was given to him, I believe, in April. It was an unbalanced budget for him to start working on and figure out. In May, I got an email from our financial person at Solutions that works for us, that she was very frustrated because the interim city manager had had the budget for a month and had not contacted her or dealt with her in any way over the budget. He also knew that she was going on vacation. And she gave him the dates that she would be gone on vacation. It wasn't until after she went on vacation that he finally started trying to work with her on the budget. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a counselor that wanted to know why Nick Green was involved with the city's budget. So I'm explaining, okay? This is an explanation. This is the missing information. So in a panic, Anna told me she was in an email that she sent me while she was on vacation. Let me know that she was in a panic. She was getting no help from the interim city manager. And she had a lot of questions that needed to be answered in order to figure the budget out. So she told me that she had contacted Mr. Green and asked him if he'd be willing to help her with the budget. Because Nick respects Anna and likes Anna, he agreed to do that. He worked with Anna on the budget. Coincidentally, tonight that Rick called the emergency meeting with me and you and Anna at 7 o'clock over the budget, big panic meeting, because it was showing $1 million out in streets and $500,000 out in community development. Nick contacted me 30 minutes prior to that meeting taking place and let me know that him and Hannah had most of the problems with the budget figured out. I asked him if I could have a copy of that because I was on my way to a panic meeting, so I went up to his house and he ended up sending it to me electronically, showed me what he'd found, sent it to me electronically, sent it to Anna electronically. So we had that discussion that night. Nick Green was the main reason that that budget got balanced and got figured out and got fixed. I helped Anna a fair amount myself. I caught a couple of things that Nick hadn't had time to find yet. But between the two of us, and Anna, that's why your budget got balanced. It was not because of our interim city manager. And Nick Green was a big part of that. He is not our enemy. He is our friend. Treatment plant. We sat here in council and we had a member of our audience request to be on the agenda that night to discuss the treatment plant's concerns from the public. We ended up having 3 public people stand up that night and address similar concerns because we weren't getting the proper information from the person we hired to keep us informed. So another issue. After their discussion and their confusion about where we were with the treatment plant, council had a discussion, continued this discussion. And our city manager's comment was, well, these things take time, could be another 3 to 5 years, and that we needed to hire an expensive engineering firm to take on the project to manage it and make sure it moves forward. A few days later, Heather got a call from Nick Ducati, our consultant that's doing our grant administration, and come to find out, unbeknownst to us, also managing the sewer treatment plant project, making sure that it's moving forward. She recommended that he contact me also and give me that information. It was a very good conversation with him. The missing information is that we're trying to be convinced to hire an expensive engineering firm and pay them to do something we're already paying somebody to do. We were not informed. None of the council knew that Nick Ducote was already being paid for that role. And that Nick Green was also working with Nick Ducote on the side, helping him with it. So,
Nick Ducati was told to keep you and I out of it.
right, Nick Ducote was told by Rick not to include Heather and I in the email
Communications.
chain loops, give us the information. He had a detailed list of where we were at, what the processes were, and everything about it the night that he sat there and gave us no information and let us think that the world and the sky was falling. Okay? Come to find out it's not, and it wasn't. And I know that you kind of got a little bit of that gist, but you haven't had the whole story. Consequently, a little bit of additional information. Wednesday, not today, last Wednesday, out of the blue, Wednesday afternoon, I get a call on my cell phone from a lady by the name of Kathleen. And I believe her last, she works for Senator Wyden's office. And she called me up and she asked me if she could discuss, or if I would like to discuss the city sewer treatment plant project with her. And I told her, yes, I would love to. She gave me more wonderful information and additional information. I have her contact information I will give you. I asked her if she would please be, so I didn't have to try and remember everything she told me, because we talked for almost an hour. If she would be willing to, and I think she works out of LeGrand, so she could potentially either be here in person or at least via Zoom. And she would love to give us an update on where the NOAA Fisheries is and U.S. Fish and Wildlife is, and why the process is taking so long, and that they're trying to cover not only their butts, but they're trying to cover our butts. Because if they don't, then the environmental groups will file lawsuits, and then it's a mess. So she would like to lay it all out for the council and the public, because the public's confused about why it's not happening. Council's been confused about why it's not happening. This is the missing information.
Okay.
So I'll get you her phone number. And she said she would love to address the council and our community.
Perfect.
On this issue. And she's been working very hard on it, according to her. So the other one on this issue is the question you presented the other night on the check register when you wanted to know why Catalyst was sending us a bill. And Heather gave you a quick short version of people had contacted him for help. And so we need to pay the bill. Okay, that's the short version. The longer version and the more accurate version is Nick Green has been helping this city since January when his contract ended with Catalyst. The city's contract with Catalyst ended. And we lost our city manager and we had nobody. Heather didn't know diddly squat. I knew some, but not near enough. And so there we were, trying to figure out how we're going to keep the city moving forward. Not get in trouble with grants, not get in trouble with contracts, not get in trouble with a whole lot of stuff. Nick was utilized heavily. He was utilized by me. He was in contact with Heather. He was in contact with the city attorney, helping him on different issues. Nick Ducati, Aaron Llewellyn, Casey Myers, Anna Bass, a variety of people. He has been very helpful to the city of John Day. He has bent over backwards to help us succeed since everything went amok. And he's done it pretty much all for free. He didn't invoice us in January or February or March or April. And the only reason that he invoiced us at the end of May, 1st of June was because Heather
Met with him.
in a meeting with him and Nick Ducati and Aaron and whoever else was there. I missed that one. I was on a fishing trip with my dad. She didn't feel that it was fair or right for Nick to be doing that stuff and giving the city all that help, including on the budget, spent hours on that helping, that he should be doing that for free, especially since he's a businessman and a contractor. So she insisted that he invoice us for his recent help. And so that's why we got the bill. And I agree with Heather on that. I'm not slamming her for it. I agree with her 100% that he shouldn't have to have done it for free. And I commend you for having him invoice us. Thank you. He deserves to be recognized for what he's done for this community and for this city. Not only did he have some weak points as city manager, yes. I told him that every year in his evaluation. You know, I'm not going to go over what they were, but yes. Do we all have weak points? Yes. Does he have strong points? Oh man, he's got some strong points. So I appreciate Nick Green. I appreciate the help he's given this city. I think the public needs to know this man has spent a lot of hours over the last 6 months working for free for this city and helping this community and helping this city succeed, because he cares. And he's a good person and he's got a good family. And I would really like to see people quit ridiculing and harassing him for reasons beyond my knowledge.
Well, and in that same meeting, I mean, I'll touch on it a little bit. I told him and I told the staff that was in there, because it was management staff that was in there, if we need Nick for something, we can reach out to him, but we're going to compensate him because it's not fair. And Nick Ducati and Nick Green both agreed, like, it shouldn't be done for free. But management needs to realize that it needs to be something that we we can't figure out internally, so we're going to reach out to a second source. So I don't know if anybody's reached out to him recently. Nobody's came to me for anything. But I don't think it's right for anybody to have to work for free. I mean, I'm working for free, but I signed up for it. He didn't, nobody else did, type of a thing. But I also think our staff needs to remember that there's some things that they just need to dig and try to find. And if it's a last resort, then it's a last resort. And then we go to the next step. But don't just call for any little thing, because everybody's time is valuable. So that was kind of the other part of that meeting that I discussed with Nick and Casey and Aaron, and Rick was in that meeting. But just kind of like explaining that it's okay to utilize what we have at our fingertips, but let's make sure at $250 an hour, $500, whatever it is, that whoever we're using, that we make sure we've done everything internally that we can to find the issue or solve the problem. And if we can't solve it, then we can't solve it. And we have to reach out to an outside source, outside contractor, whatever. Just like for Brock, just like for Nick Ducati, just like Jeremy Green. I mean, like, we have outside sources that if internally we can't figure it out or management can't figure it out, then we have those resources for them to reach out to, but they're expensive. And so we need to really think about, is it something we need right now that we can't figure out internally? If so, then we need to go with the outside source. Yes?
I've got Catherine's phone number, I'll give it to you. So I attended Senator Wyden's meeting. I've known Senator Wyden for a long time, and Catherine. I spoke on behalf, I didn't say the city, maybe I did. I said, we're having environmental problems with would you help us? Sound like she has contacted the city. We need to take advantage of that. The reason I did that is I didn't feel we were getting our bang for our buck from Nick Ducati.
I
If he's-
highly disagree.
If he's the person that's supposed to run this particular project, he wasn't doing his job. I looked at the thing that we're 40% done with environmental problems. Only 40%. How many years has it been? 40%, that's it. That's why I went to the meeting.
But here's the deal. He was being told from our management staff to not include us on any. He was to only go to management. As a contractor, he's respecting our city manager that we put in that place. That's on council that our city manager was telling a contractor to not include the city council or the community on anything. That is not on that contractor. That is on us as the boss of our interim city manager. But we didn't know about it until it came to us after he heard the meeting with everybody coming here, and he's like, whoa, I'm doing this. Like, what are you guys talking about? So, and then on June 1st, I had the meeting with Nick Ducati, Nick Green, and all the staff and stuff to kind of figure out where we're at, what we're doing. The 40% on the fishery piece, I know you don't see the emails, but there's about 30 emails a day between NOAA Fishery and all the pieces and puzzles and everything else going on. So I can tell you the work is being done, and it is being done tremendously as fast as it possibly can. But when you're dealing with 7 different departments, it's not going to be fast. Right. However, he has assured me that like once this hurdle is done, it should go pretty fast. It's just this piece of it is a big piece of it.
And we were literally 2 weeks out when the complaint was filed.
Yep, 18 months ago.
And that's where we've been since. And
why not get a United States senator involved?
Well, and if they can help, I'm all for, I mean, like, I'm not saying no to her coming and explaining and help. I'm not saying that, but I do not want anybody saying that our contractor is not doing his job, because he is doing our job, and he is doing tremendous with our grants. He's doing tremendous with our treatment plans, reimbursements in a timely manner. Like, he is doing what his contract states and beyond.
the other thing that she did tell me was that some of the governmental agencies are less than pleased with some of the negative publicity they're getting out of John Day via council and or newspaper statements, articles, and I'll admit I was one of the negative statement sayers on it. But she says that's not helpful.
I talked with her about it.
Yeah, so I'm just letting everybody know. And, you know, I admit I was one of the big complainers about it. You know, because to me it's beyond ridiculous. But you know, after talking to her and her explaining why it's being done this way,
I think it would be good for the council.
Makes me understand it, and it's actually in the long run to our benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It'll prevent us from down the road.
She's over here a lot. And
I'll reach out to
I think we
her.
realize now how important the people we have enforcement, city manager,
I don't know.
how important they were to our community. Unfortunately, they decided to move on. And I think it was this council's fault. I wasn't on the council, so.
Okay, do you have anything else for Missy? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I just clarify one thing? As far as asking questions about where money's going, even a check register, and I feel that I have the right to ask, and this wasn't just pointed at Mr. Green, but I have the right to ask what payments are for, or why we're making payment, why a check is made out for a certain amount. That's my right as a council person.
Exactly.
Okay. So
Didn't question that.
okay. Just wanted
to was add of the explanation to you that Heather didn't add in that night. She gave you a short explanation. I just wanted people to know that Nick had not been charging the city, nor did he intend to charge the city on those issues until Heather's conversation with him. That was the point I wanted to be clear for the council and the public. Not that you asked the question, you have every right to ask the question. Of course you do.
Any other missing information?
I think that covers most of my stuff.
Do you website you had added?
Oh, website. I've had a couple people ask, and I agree with them 100%. When Nick was the city manager, after our council meetings, you could go back into our website, go to the agenda. On the right-hand side of the screen was view details. You click on view details, and it would bring up a link for that recorded meeting.
Go to.
So that you could actually, if somebody missed it because they were gone or they didn't have access at that day, a couple of days later, they could go back in and just by going to our website and clicking on view details, they had access to that link for that recorded council meeting. I would like to see that restored. It hasn't been there since
So,
Quorum wasn't doing it either.
right, so none of my staff knows how to do it. So, because I've asked about it because it's been we had to get Katrina a CD for the meeting that she wanted to listen to. So let me do some research on how. I don't even know how to download the GoTo. It's on our server. I don't have access to the server, but one of the girls that has access to the server can pull it off the server and add it to the website. Two of them have access to the website, so I'll work on that with staff.
Yeah, I'd just like to see it because the public.
I also can't edit the pages. I've tried to edit the mayor page. I've tried to edit a few pages and it won't let me edit. So I need to reach out to the IT. Yeah, it won't go away. We've deleted it. It's not there on our end, but it's still there on the website end. So I don't know. Sure. Web something. I don't know.
It's not local?
No.
Anyway, if we could get that within the, fairly near future so that.
I did upload all of the approved minutes today to the meetings that they were approved for. So I updated all the minutes today. Sarah got me all those approved ones signed. So I got those all updated. But yeah, I can have them look into that and see how or what or when or why. And if I need to, I can reach out to somebody and figure out how to do it.
Well, I was told you could, if you're an administrator on the site, you can just cut and paste the link onto the website, and then if the public wants to go in, they can just go into that particular meeting and pull up the recording and watch it.
We have been pulling them onto the server because we learned that GoTo only saves them for a year. So we have been putting them on the server after every meeting, but I haven't been adding them to the website, but we can do that.
Okay, that was it on that one.
All right, so any additional, I'll just go around the room with us, any additional comments or anything for the good of the order? Dave, anything?
Like you said, I just assume go back to being retired. So if you need to have a special meeting after this and put somebody else to help you out, feel free.
Let's wait and see what happens with
the city manager, potential city manager.
Because there's no reason to do a whole nother contract if this is going to be short term. If that's the case, then maybe at the next council meeting we talk about it.
Sounds good.
Because hopefully by then we'll have some decisions made. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, Katrina?
I would just say I really appreciate the ability to be candid tonight and to have a little more detail about conversations, kind of in lieu of that missing information that I feel often like I have half of the information, and when somebody asks me a question, I'm like, I can tell you this much. So if there's a way to continue this kind of discourse where we get all of the information, I would appreciate it.
Hopefully with new incoming, we'll have a more open communication line with council and our incoming city manager. That's a priority on my book. Yes, Chris?
Why would that be a priority?
I don't know. Crazy when I'm going through more.
Are we
I
going to
have,
hold a special session to deal with
I don't have anything that we need to vote on.
about the executive session?
No.
I know we can't make any decisions, but we can come out of executive, we came out of executive session, we can go into a regular session.
But we're gonna wait and hear back from him. Remember, Greg was gonna contact him and then we're waiting to hear back from him. So at our next council meeting, we might be making a decision,
Which is next
which is
week.
soon. I mean, it's not like
Yeah,
it's,
a week away.
right, it's not that far away. Greg called me actually during our meeting, so I'll call him after this meeting and touch base with him. But we don't need to make a decision because there isn't a decision to make because we're waiting to hear back from Greg. The consulting firm that we paid to do a good job and let them do their job.
I have to agree with Katrina. I think the way we handled our meeting tonight, we were very transparent with the public.
Mhm.
It may have hurt us, but I think it helped us more.
Agreed. Ron?
I agree with what's been said so far.
Perfect. Sherry?
I would just like to make sure that you are kept up to date with all this stuff that's going on because apparently the communication that's happening with some of the counselors or whatever isn't getting to you. And I think that you need to be on top of all of it. So I just think that you ought to be communicated with a little bit better.
Okay. I'll close it out with, hopefully this is short term. I have appreciated the few counselors that have came and met with different things that I've had come up. I needed a check signed that day. Steph had a bill that came up that day. I called Sherry. She was there in 5 minutes, signed the check. It was beneficial to have multiple signers. So just please, if I reach out to you and you are available, say okay. If you're not available, I realize that we all are volunteers here and we did not sign up for a full-time job. So, but also know that there is stuff to be done every day. I'm going through piles after this city manager too of stuff that's undone and public records requests and URA applications and planning review and all that kind of stuff. So do know that there's work to be done. If you guys are bored, I've got work for you to do. Just organizing, filing, all that kind of stuff, giving it to the staff to file on the server, answering questions. Kathleen at Grow was never contacted, that we weren't moving forward with it. So she contacted me today. So I've let her know that it's not in our budget, but that was one thing that our prior management didn't reach out to her like I was told he was going to after our budget was passed. So just some of those things, bits and pieces that we're trying to pick up the pieces with. I will be in contact with some things if they come up. I'll reach out to whoever is on those committees. That's all I have for right now. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:48. Katrina makes the motion. Do I hear a second from Ron? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.